Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 15th July 2023. My name is T.S.V. Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. hariboltrsvnectar nectar nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of what we have been discussing in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my other videos. So let us continue with the topic of today. Today we shall talk about another case history which will make us ponder over the mysteries of the psyche of a human living entity, how it operates, what are the factors involved, etc. In some cases, or in 75% of the cases, people live only according to the prarabdha karma of the psyche. This prarabdha karma is only a slice of the already unworked sanchit karma which is kept in the storage of the archives of the psyche. In a birth, these people bring only one slice of that storage of sanchit karma to work it out in that particular birth. 75% of the human living entities live according to this slice, which is also known as prarabdha karma. Mainly, only the other 25 try to use their free will to create new karma, positive or negative, and change the coloring of their sanchit karma for future births. We are going to talk about one of those people who belong to the other 25%. So here it goes. There is a province called Komila in East Bengal. East Bengal is today a separate country called Bangladesh. This guy belonged most probably to this place called Komila. On a March morning or afternoon or night in the year 1912, one particular boy was born in a middle class family in Komila. This boy was from a family whose surname was Aich, Aich. This boy was christened Manohar Aich. Aich was the surname and Manohar was his actual first name. When this boy was born in those humble circumstances, little could have anyone known that this boy will become an international icon and a living legend in a particular field. Not only that, he will be referred to in the Guinness Book of World Records, and there will be several people in this world who would like to emulate this guy. The circumstances under which this guy was born, were too humble to predict this particular thing. This boy grew up and became, at best, a semi-literate guy. He could not probably complete his graduation, post-graduation, MPhil, PhD, etc. He was probably one who had just completed his schooling. Either he was not interested in studies or the financial circumstances of his family did not allow him to study further in his lifetime. Slowly, this boy got into an odd job, family business, or profession where he did several jobs as a worker, a laborer, a daily wage guy, and other such things. When this boy was around 30 or 35, the Second World War broke in the world. India was under the colonial period. So, this guy was also a part of that Second World War in which Britain, which ruled India at that time, was fairly engaged. Now, Britain during the Second World War needed a lot of able bodied men both in Europe and in India. Though this guy was already in his 30s, he offered his services as a private soldier in the British Army, which was engaged in war in various theaters all around the world. Lo and behold, this boy was selected as a private in the British Air Force of that time. This guy joined the army little knowing what it was, how war was fought, or whatever was the training. However, When he joined, he got a basic training in which he and other like-minded young men were trained to fight the war in the Second World War. At that time, he was put in one particular regiment whose elite was fairly educated, experienced, mature, and more professional in its attitude. One day, this particular elite of the regiment decided to revolt against the British suppression and colonialism. It revolted against the British establishment. This guy hardly knew what was going on. Yet, because he belonged to this regiment, he became advertently or inadvertently a part of that particular revolt. This revolt ended in a fiasco and hence it became what is known as a mutiny. The complete regiment, along with the elite and the commoners and the private soldiers, was tried in the court. This guy was also shackled and presented before the jury and judge of that court. This court decided arbitrarily to imprison every one of them with varied degrees of success, of sentence, not success, varied degree of sentence. This young man, who knew nothing about what was going on, got 5 years of imprisonment. Those days, the population of India was not as much as it is today. Fortunately, this guy got a cell of his own. This guy, who was doing some odd jobs in Comilla by then and had joined the army just to serve in the Second World War, found himself alone in a cell in some British prison in India. Now, this guy was not literate. He did not know anything about studies, meditation, contemplation, etc. He began getting bored. By that time, he was already 35 or a little 1 or 2 years before his 35th year. He was 33, 34, or 35 at that time. One day, when he was sitting in a corner pondering over his own plight, he suddenly remembered about an uncle of his. This boy, when he was young, had to confront or live with a particular uncle who was very much interested in physical exercises, yoga, bodybuilding, etc. This boy stood only 4 foot 8 to 4 foot 11 inches in height. He was a bag of bones then, and he was quite puny. This bodybuilder uncle used to sneer at him regularly. This had slighted this boy to such an extent that this guy decided to go through the grind and observe what this uncle was doing to build his body. Now, sitting alone in a cell, this guy began recalling what he had observed when his uncle did his exercise. Slowly, he remembered some physical movements which were a part of his uncle's bodybuilding. This guy started moving his hands, legs, limbs, etc., so that he could do something to while away his time. Lo and behold, when he began doing this in his mid 30s, he got addicted to bodybuilding. I want to repeat this. This guy, who hardly stood 4 foot 8 to 4 foot 11 in height, got addicted to bodybuilding at an age when actual bodybuilders retire from bodybuilding. He was already in his mid 30s when he took up bodybuilding. Slowly but surely, his addiction for bodybuilding exceeded or increased to such an extent that in a day this guy began exercising for more than 4 or 5 hours. It happened to be his only occupation alone in that cell. This puny boy began developing a very strong and attractive physique without himself knowing about it. Slowly he found that he was achieving some very important feat. At that time, when he was exercising, one day a young British assistant jailer went around jail on his regular routine rounds. When this British soldier came near Manohar Aich's cell, Manohar Aich smiled and said, "Sir, I want to show you something." The Britisher was fairly intrigued, but he was young and still learning the vagaries or the tricks of life. So, inquisitively, this British soldier asked him, "What is it?" By this time, Manohar Aich was in his late 30s. Now, Manohar Aich caught hold of the two pillars of his door in the cell, got into it, and began pushing in such a way that he would stretch to his full form. The Britisher looked at it intrigued. This guy was in between two bars of the cell's door. Lo and behold, the two bars began bending. They began bending in such a way that if Manohar had tried, he could have easily squeezed in through those two bars and come out. The Britisher was stunned. He asked him, "From when are you doing like this? And when did you know that you can do this?" Manohar said, "I think I could do this even 6 months before. But just because I wanted to show this to you or to someone else, I waited till now." The Britisher did not say anything, but he went to his own office. There he began writing a letter to his British superior authorities. This Britisher wrote like this: "I have one inmate in my prison who is a Bengali Indian who has such a body that this guy showed me how he could bend the bars of his cell with his bare body. However, this guy is so naive that he could not realize that when he could do such a thing, this guy could have squeezed himself through the bars and escaped. I have a feeling that though this guy is physically very strong, he is quite harmless and shows a lot of promise. I sincerely suggest that this guy be released immediately and given proper training in bodybuilding so that he may become useful to the British government in some other field." This letter, when it reached the authorities, they agreed and released Manohar Aich immediately. Once they did this, they went a step further. They shipped Manohar Aich to a bodybuilding college or training center in England. Manohar Aich was quite surprised and stunned, but he played along. Soon he was a part of that particular training center. Once he began developing his body and acting according to the instructions given to him by his training instructor there. Even the instructors were surprised as to how powerful and strong this guy's body could develop despite its very short height. He was, remember, only somewhere between 4 foot 8 and 4 foot 11. These instructors one day took his photograph and published it in a newspaper in London. The whole newspaper, when it was circulated, took people by surprise. By that time, Manohar Aich was in his late 30s or early 40s. He was bare bodied and he was showing a physique that was almost unbelievable or incredible. The public genuinely wondered whether the photograph was mocked. They thought that the face of a 40-year-old man was pasted to a body of a 20-year-old man. These instructors told them that no, it was not so. It was a genuine photograph. Now, Manohar Aich was slowly becoming a celebrity. These guys asked him to join a bodybuilding competition in the short height level. This guy won first prize in that bodybuilding competition. At that time, his contemporaries were the famous bodybuilder Manohar Roy from India and Vishnu Charan Ghosh, the younger brother of Swami Yogananda Paramahamsa of Yogoda Satsang Society of India. Anyway, the whole world was taken by surprise at the achievements of this tiny man in the bodybuilding field. Manohar Aich was immediately returned to India after gaining this popularity and allowed to retire from Air Force with a fairly good pension and was encouraged to do his bodybuilding by the British authorities. Manohar Aich was very happy. Slowly but steadily, this guy began getting a national and international status as a bodybuilder. This guy was so well built and who he could boast such a V-shaped body that he was becoming wealthier and wealthier and more famous day by day. But this was not all. This guy who had taken up bodybuilding in his mid 30s for the first time went about bodybuilding even in his late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and lo and behold, up to the age of 95. If you don't believe this, let me tell you that when he was 95, he showed his biceps and muscles to a young film actor called Hrithik Roshan, who was surprised at this achievement and who was at least 60 years younger than Manohar Aich. In other words, this young actor was in his early 30s or mid 30s when this Manohar Aich was already 95 years old. Now, this guy began getting local, national, and international awards. Not only that, Not only the fact that he was becoming so internationally a living legend and an icon, but he also appeared in the Guinness Book of World Records as a person who could be a bodybuilder in his late 60s and one who was so short in stature could achieve so much in such an alien subject as bodybuilding. Everyone was surprised at this particular achievement of Manohar Aich. People wanted to emulate this man. This man began building his body in a local gym in Bengal. Soon the public and his own private finances joined together to start his own gym in his township, which was most probably Kolkata in West Bengal. Please remember that at this time, this man was merely a coconut seller in Bengal. He was in a quite humble position financially, but now he was a gym owner and he was steadily making more and more money in the financial circles of Bengal. Now he was richer, wealthier, though middle class, yet internationally famous, a living legend, an icon, and a person who could achieve the impossible or almost impossible by remaining a bodybuilder at the age of 95. Manohar Aich ultimately crossed 100 and died at the age of 102 or 3 peacefully in Bengal. His death was internationally mourned by all those bodybuilding and sports enthusiasts who wanted to take a leaf out of the life of this particular person who had achieved almost the impossible. This guy proved that everything is possible if you put your heart and mind to that particular subject, and you could achieve anything at any age. Age is just a number, as one film actor called Devanand in Bollywood, India put it once. Age does not matter. It is only your willpower that matters. If you have the will, there is a way in life for you. We must also take a leaf out of the life of this Mr. Manohar Aich, who is no more with us today, but who has set a parameter or an example to us for us to emulate and achieve whatever we want to do at any age. This is the ultimate aim of every human living entity. We are all born with an aim, but 75% of us all do not realize this. Lucky are the other 25 who advertently or inadvertently, by default or by design, realize their aim. And the lucky are those who can put their whole heart and soul into their aim. Actually, for a spiritualist, his or her aim is to achieve self realization, liberation from repeated births and deaths, and deliverance to the Supreme Personality of Godhead one day or the other. God has as many ways to reach Him as there are human beings in this world. So we can also pursue our spiritual journey through our material journey itself according to our tastes and preferences. Whatever we are doing in our material world must be slowly and steadily spiritualized so that we transcend from material world to the spiritual world without realizing that there was such a huge change in our lives. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular matter. Please give me your own expert opinions, thoughts, and ideas so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.